I love nerfs. Hi, Zizaran here with a quick update video. Grinding Gear Games released their game battles in Path of Exile Manifesto. If you don't know what the Manifesto is, it's basically they're talking a little bit about their thoughts, about why they buffed or nerfed certain things, and just like a little bit of like why they do things. So they've talked a little bit about Ascendancies. I'm going to skip that part of the Manifesto because I'm going to be making a separate video talking about all the Ascendancy changes, or at least like the top 5 and stuff like that. But up here we have Aura Stackers, a very, very expected nerf. Personally, I haven't played Aura Stacker. The reason being, I didn't want Aura Stacker to ruin the game for me. Sometimes when you play a skill that's like really, really strong at everything, it can make other builds feel kind of pointless to play. So I've been purposefully staying away from Aura Stacker. I don't know. People like Steel Mage and stuff that are playing it a lot are saying it's still going to be doable at like a high level with a lot of expensive stuff. And like before, it was pretty cheap. We saw a lot of people doing like budget versions like Carve and Steel on Solo Self-Fun, doing it after like 4 or 5 days of grinding, or on Solo Self-Fun. Now it's probably going to be a lot harder to pull off. Might even be almost impossible in a week or two on Solo Self-Fun. And it's sort of like triple nerfed. They've like nerfed cluster jewels, they've nerfed added effect, and they've nerfed some of the new alt quality on gems. And they're like reducing the difference between cluster jewel nodes and the normal ones on the skill tree. So definitely nerfed quite hard. I don't think it's fully dead. And every time something is nerfed and people think it's completely dead, we always see a resurgence of it in some way. So we'll see, but I think this was a good change. Impale mechanics, also no surprise. They've basically killed the Impaler node with Impale and completely removed like Call of Steel's functionality with it. Whenever you do the suck, it like prevents Call of Steel from removing Impales from enemies. This looks pretty dead. That entire playstyle of like Ground Slam Impale looks dead. I love nerfs. I'm a big fan of like just a big meta change where, you know, like you don't know what's strong. It's like completely different from last league. But I am surprised with, you know, how long Essence Drain and other skills have been super meta that they didn't finally let a melee very slow skill be meta for at least 2 leagues. I was like, expecting something like this maybe 3 months from now. And on top of that, this later part is a little bit surprising to me because not only are they nerfing like the Ground Slam Impale mechanic, but they're also nerfing the Lord of Steel unique for just normal steel skills. And I didn't ever feel like normal steel skills were that powerful at all. So I'm very surprised that they're further nerfed. Next up, we have the nerfs that people are the most upset with. Both golems and specters have been significantly nerfed. Specters going from level 76 at 20 to level 72, and lowered accuracy and lower scaling past level 20. So this is like significantly nerfed. I haven't actually run the numbers, but I mean, a lot of people are fairly upset with this. They have tool specters are nerfed as well, and my favorite specter, Syndicate Operative, which is just really, really fun and good for clearing, has also been nerfed. I mean, they'll still be like, they haven't talked about like, is it Frost Operatives or Frost Sentinels or whatever they were called? They're probably still going to be good, but I think we're going to see way less minion builds in like racing and trying to go for like boss heals and stuff, and probably less viable as league starters than they were before. Carrion golems were insanely popular last league. They've been nerfed, and they've said it's a more severe reduction than other golem types. I think it's probably good. I would love to see a league where like Summon Raging Spirit is the main thing again, although, you know, it wouldn't have surprised me if they nerfed that for no reason. Skeleton Mages is getting a buff as well. And Leash of Ablation, which is a really, really cool unique belt that lets you have multiple offerings. We'll see. Minions don't look super great in the upcoming patch. And then there's nerfs to Necro as well that we'll talk about later. It's not like it's completely unwarranted. Specters do give you an insane amount of power, especially early on, for very little effort compared to a lot of other builds. So, we'll see. They are also buffing some skills. They're buffing 40 underrepresented skills, and they mentioned Cracklands, which I wish they had covered here, because that's one I would actually be excited with. Scorching Rays cast time is halved, which is a huge buff. That means it's going to stack up the debuff faster. I still don't think this is going to feel good for clearing ever. But, you know, maybe we'll see some Scorching Ray totems. No, oh, I forgot they removed totems from the game, basically. Unless there's some other changes I don't know about. But Scorching Ray, not super excited. Cobra Lash? This actually maybe makes it something I want to try. I've never tried Cobra Lash before. It does look like it gets a fairly significant buff here. Frost Bomb, while it does get a huge damage buff, and I know my friend Noogie was very excited about it. It's Frost Bomb. If you have an Awakened Spell Cascade lying around, sure. With just Spell Cascade, it just looks so garbage compared to most other builds. It's just like, I don't know, dude. I can see maybe working with Ignite, but like mechanically, I feel like there's so many skills that are just outshining Frost Bomb regardless of like numbers. Because the skill being mechanically strong is generally just so important. So, I mean, it's cool, and if somebody gets some good use out of it, that's great. I am personally not very excited by Frostbomb. It's just a bit of a clunky and weird skill. Earth Shatter is being like, well, probably nerfed a bit. They're trying to reduce the AoE overlap, especially on like large single targets, so like bigger bosses. Contagion has had a small reduction to the skills radius. We don't really know what that is. It might be like 1 or 2 base. I personally really hope Ascendancy and Contagion does get nerfed for this league, where it's not as desirable to play as a league starter. It's been one of the strongest for so long. So I would love to see ED Contagion getting nerfed. Resurgence Fusks is going to be slightly better. It's going to get halved. Well, it's basically doubling in effectiveness. You can recharge flasks faster that way. So that's actually pretty decent again now. Some of the unique items have been nerfed. Like on Replica Nebulous, you could go huge amount of increased damage, and they're capping it out now. The max you can get now is 300%. Yeah, you can get 300% of each now. Before, it was completely uncapped. Alberon's Warpath. I'm pretty bad with math, but it's gone from 1 to 80 per 80 strength instead of per 50. I think it's either a 40 or a 60% damage nerf. It's pretty big. I'm pretty bad at math though, but it's 40 or 60%. And yeah, I don't know. That build was extremely strong. It's definitely still going to be extremely strong, especially at the end game, because this was a build that was very, very easily busted on a low budget. I think it'll still be fine, but it is a big nerf. Martyr of Innocence and Disintegrator, they've already told us this with one of the earlier things, but basically they no longer have added damage with spells because it's getting Battle Mage instead, which is granting added spell damage equal to the damage of your main hand weapon. Disintegrator already had higher flat spell damage to Fizz than it did like normal flat, so it is a slight nerf there. I don't know why they're so against Disintegrator being meta. I'm very, very sad. Like, I feel like for a long time, Disintegrator's never been good. It's like been like exciting when it first came out, and then people were like, it's not that great. I don't know. It's just never been good. I've like tried making builds around it, and they're always mediocre for a huge investment. Martyr of Innocence, this is just a buff. It just gets Battle Mage. So that is pretty exciting. And Martyr of Innocence might see more use. And they said they've like not letting them have both Battle Mage and the added with spells because it would be too powerful with Inquisitor's reworked Instruments of Virtue. I would wager that even if they had that, you still wouldn't see everybody playing it because A, it's rare, B, it's from Uber Elder, C, it's pretty low drop rate too. So it would be cool to have chase items. A few other alternative qualities have been changed. Arctic Armor, it no longer triggers one hit effects because you could like permafreeze with Hiltless. Divergent Plague Bearer has like no longer got the reduced chaos damage taken because it was too strong defensively. It has damage instead now. And then Kinetic Bolt, Plague Bearer, and Scourge Arrow has been lowered in power. Fire Shot now has a 20% less damage at very close range and up to 60% more damage at a range of 70 or greater. If you're wondering how much 70 or greater is, that is this. So it's very, very close to the edge of the screen for max damage. At the top of your screen, you can see it's all the way up at the top. And we don't know how close the damage penalty is, but I don't know. That's a lot of damage. 60% more damage. That's a lot. Tailwind, as part of the changes to the data Ascendancy, Tailwind gets 8% action speed instead of 10. And the Elemental Aegis gets a huge buff by that it can like replenish itself or regen its defensive thing while you're taking damage. Before, taking damage would cancel your Elemental Aegis defensive layer from regenning. So this is huge and one of the most impactful things in the Manifesto, I think, especially for me as a hardcore player. That's going to make that I'm going to look at the Aegis effects as something that I will consider strongly. Generally, I'm pretty happy with the notes. I love big meta shakeups. I'm a big fan of like huge nerfs and huge buffs in other places. So I don't really mind if something's nerfed into the ground. I love when archetypes just like are really, really strong for a few leagues and then it just gets shaken up. So I'm excited to see the Ascendancy changes and look over those as well. But hopefully you guys like the read up of the Manifesto, and good luck in 3.13. Thanks for watching. Try to die less than I do.